Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hi and welcome to the Ask Sue show. Oh my goodness. It seems like a lifetime ago since I was here rambling about everything, and I have got to say a big, massive thank you, hellos, hugs, loves, and everybody that has sent the messages into me asking me to come back on the show. I have to have a bit of time out. You know, when life just gives you a bit of a kick down and you just have to find yourself again. Well, I think I've gone through all of that, learned some lessons, and gone through so much, but I think it's to the fact that they had to teach me more lessons so I could do more shows and actually be able to click with people and understand people more because I'd actually gone through things myself. So, with no further ado, as you can all remember, we did a lot of shows with regard to dog shot by police. You know, abused animals. We had places shut down because of it. And to be fair, we moved some mountains. Now, obviously tonight, it is our first show in quite a while, and I've got to let a few people know that, unfortunately, the actual phone number to call in is in America, but you can actually call on an 0330 number, which I will get Sean to put into the chat room. Big hello to Sean, who's in the chat, and also to Pete, that I know is listening. Hi, both of you. Hope you're okay. And also, so if you have a look in the chat room, you have to sign into Blog Talk Radio. So if you sign into Blog Talk Radio when you've joined up to listen to the show, go onto there and then you'll be able to join us in the chat room. And, you know, give us a mention in there. Tell me what you want to see on the show. So you can call into the show. The host, the guest call-in is 001 if you call in from the UK, and it's 646-787-1624. So nice new number, and that's 646-787-1624. Now, let's move to the phone lines, and I've got to bring on, I'm not going to say old friend, because it sounds like I would be talking about her age, but this lady has done some amazing things. We actually had quite a few dogs shot by police, and this lady has helped me behind the scenes loads. And, of course, I had to bring her back on the first show. It goes without saying. And I welcome to the show, Kristin. Hi, Kristin. How are you doing?
Hi, Sue. I'm good. How are you?
Hey, all the better for coming back on the show, and so we can have our rants and our little natters.
Absolutely.
How's life treating you? How's life
good.
treating you?
It's been a really good day. We have sun out today, so it's very nice.
Do you know what? I'd forgotten a bit about this banter that we have about weather. You just know that you're going to win me every single time, don't you? Do you know what I mean? The sun doesn't happen. Although I'm now in Blackpool, and everybody told me to go to Blackpool because you've got the bright lights of the lovely tower and everything. They didn't tell me about the wind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to do some Facebook Live to show you how bad it is over here. So anyway, how's it going? I'm obviously very quickly spoke to you the other day with regards to the dogs being shot by police. How's it actually going? How's everything going with the training and everything? Give us a quick update.
Jim can actually tell you more about the training, but we have training now in California, in Texas, in Illinois. Those are our big states where we have a lot of training, and then there's like spot training in departments around the country. So that's one thing that I am really interested in. So I want to do records requests in those states and see if we can see if the training is actually reducing the number of shootings. Besides that, the main thing I've been focused on is just getting people to attorneys.
Yeah. And just let everybody know that if we have got any new listeners that you've actually had your dog shot by police, the person to speak to is definitely Kristin. She has you pretty well got the book ready to say you need this, and this, don't you, to be fair?
Right.
Because the thing is, let's face it, when and let's just everybody know that Kristin did actually have her dog shot by police, and this is where it all started for Kristin. So she's gone through everything, the emotional journey and everything that she needs. So when you first have your dog shot, Kristin, you're sort of, it's hard to believe it even happened in the first place, but then never mind the fact of having to go through all the legal procedure with it.
Well, that's the thing. Oh. That's great.
And as you can tell, she's still got some doggies as well.
I'm sorry, someone knocked on my door. So, Amber, stop. So, back then, there weren't any resources. Amber, come on, go. Hey, can you put Jim up for a minute? There's someone at my door, I'm sorry.
Oh, bless. So, do you know what? I love it with radio. I always think to myself, we were talking about this the other day, me and Sean, and I was saying, at least with radio, they can't see me. But to be fair, we've had some hilarious times when we've literally, I have had fits of giggles and everything, so I love it when things go all pear-shaped from the show. It always seems to me like it's part of the deal. Definitely part of the deal. So,
I thought I had it already.
I was just saying, do you know what? I love it with radio because at least you can't see me. Do you know what I mean, for one? But two, you always know that something's going to happen. Every time we have a show, something hilarious happens. Do you know what I mean? So I've got an actual clip to play later on for give us a little giggle, and that was just hilarious. So I'll play that later. That was funny. So yeah.
Okay. So just
say
really
to the
quick.
dogs as well. Yeah.
Oh, I thought I heard someone else on there. So back in 2012, when my dogs were shot, and I tried to reach out and find resources, there was nothing. Like, the only thing that I could find were, like, dog bite attorneys. I mean, if you did a Google search, there was absolutely nothing out there. So that's when I found Jennifer Edwards. And after I found her, I decided that I wanted to put some sort of resources together for other victims so that they would know what to do when it happened to them.
Yeah.
And that's how it all started. Yeah. Then I found Jim Crosby.
And to be fair,
I found Lady Van Cavage.
John, we seem to have a bit of a time thing. It's when you finish talking, then it starts me. Now, we didn't have this before, so we'll have to look into that again. But, yeah, this is the thing. We've even with the shows, we've made so many people and massive connections, haven't we?
Mhm. Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Just quick, what does Jim's phone number start with? Is it 904?
Yep.
Yep, right. I think we've got... Right, now this guy, he is our little triangle, isn't he? Hi, Jim. How are you doing?
I'm great, Sue. How have you been?
Oh, do you know what? It feels like old times. That's making us all sound a little old, isn't it?
Truly.
It's been too long.
Yeah, sadly, though, we still have to be talking about this. So, yeah.
Yep. Do you know what? And that's very, very true. Very, very true. So how's it been going with you then, Jim? Have you been dealing with the same stories?
I've been very, very busy with things. We've had a number of court cases that have come up, a number of them that have been very advantageously and positively either settled or decided that part of the conditions going forward are requiring police departments to get out there and make changes and do training. Other departments have reached out and sought training, either proactively or in the wake of an incident. I've been very busy putting together the curriculum that we're going to be releasing for public consumption in June at the National Sheriff's Association conference in New Orleans. The National Sheriff's Association, which is, as it sounds, a national association of all of the sheriffs across the United States, have been extremely supportive and are very, very dedicated to educating and training and equipping police officers to be able to handle things better, to raising awareness. We have commitment from the U.S. Department of Justice to, once they've examined the training and given their opinion, to be very positively supportive of this, with the idea that hopefully this will be a standard training a standard and a standard of training across the United States. We've also partnered with a private corporation that does these police shoot, no shoot type situations where it's actually immersive. You stand in a room that looks like you're in another place, and you interact with people, and you interact with troublesome situations. And they have created and worked with us to create a 3D interactive training module, giving police officers not only incidents in which they can choose to either say, "No, doggy, sit down," and actually have the dog respond, or use less lethal force like a taser or the pepper spray and have the dogs react. Yeah. And also, if they choose to use deadly force, it's not always off the table, but there may be repercussions in the environment. And on top of that, this course is also going to include a segment of direct interaction with what appear to be live dogs in front of you, displaying various behaviors. So it's like all these officers will be able to, at the same time, be immersed in this and learn what a threatening dog looks like and acts like versus what a dog that simply just as soon you left them alone looks like. So we've made some tremendous strides forward.
Yeah. How many states and everything have we actually gone through as far as the training? Where are we up to? Is this going across, or have we actually had police actually not want to do it, or have they all wanted to be part of it?
The reaction that I've had from talking to administrators on a national level has been very positive. The ones that have been reticent in the past, once they wind up having to write a large check to somebody, even those that are not proactively looking to better their departments and their officers, have been responsive to it. We've gotten very little pushback other than the expected pushback in some of the civil cases where departments are learning that this is not the time to circle the wagons and just deny everything, but it's a time where it's time to reach out and do something positive, or it's going to continue to cost you lots and lots of money. Yeah.
What about you, Kristin? How have you found it? Have you found a change in it since we started, since we did the shows and then the training started?
You know, we have had police officers report that because of the training that they've had, they are now having instances where they normally would shoot and they don't shoot now. So it does help for those that genuinely are trying and just don't know any better versus, I mean, you always have a bad apple. You know, there's always bad apples in the bunch, but there are some cops that genuinely just don't know. They just don't know. So it does help to inform those officers.
And have we actually got any numbers as far as you'll laugh? I'm just sat here and my dog is actually snoring and having a dream in his bed. So if you suddenly hear that, that's mine. So overall, do you think, how have the numbers of dogs shot by police, are they the same? Do you think that they've risen? Do you think there's more or less of them?
Jim, what do you think?
I think that we're getting better reportage of what's going on. I think more of them are being brought publicly forward. I'm not sure we've been going long enough to make a real big permanent difference yet. But then, I mean, just in the U.S., there's 10,000 different police departments. And that's part of one of the projects I'm working on is actually, trying to gather numbers and see if we, the more cooperation and input of data we can get, the better we can look at it. But one of the problems that we still wind up with, and fortunately we have some very compassionate and proactive solicitors here in the U.S. that are getting on board. But the a lot of people who suffer incidents like this simply don't have resources. And that's where Kristin's ability to help them reach out to people that are not necessarily going to charge them $1,052 to hold the department responsible, but are instead willing to work with them. That's where that becomes so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can tell you
absolutely.
that on the national level, I'm working on a particular case, and the Animal Legal Defense Fund of the United States chose to step up and actually fund this particular prosecution, and they've been extremely supportive. So,
right, fantastic.
The ability, unfortunately, like I said, a lot of people that suffer these things don't have the resources. Just the same as in any other kind of situation. If you've got lots of resources, you can do lots of things, but then if you don't have a lot of resources, you may live in an area where there's already problems and where there's already a negative attitude and less than a positive interaction. So, things can go sideways pretty quick.
Yeah. Now, I've actually got another caller waiting on the line. Hold on a minute. And it is Allison. Allison's an attorney from Louisiana. Hi, Allison. How are you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Oh, good. Thank you very much for joining the Ask Sue show, and thank you to Kristin for getting in touch with you as well. How's it going?
Hi, Allison.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here.
So, well, Kristin, I'll tell you what, I'll leave you to ask, because I know there's a few questions you want to ask Allison, isn't there?
Yes, definitely. So, Alice, just a little bit about Allison. She is a fairly new attorney in the Dog Shot by Police game, but she has kind of skyrocketed. Like, when she started, she just kept, snowballing and picking them up. And she has been doing really well, and she has some interesting cases. She's already settled 2 already, right?
Yes, correct.
So, but she has 3 cases going on right now, and I was hoping that she could give us a summary of those cases.
Wait, say that again?
Can you give us a summary of the cases you're working on now?
A summary of my cases?
I'm sorry, someone has something really loud in the background.
Yeah,
I'm
Allison.
having trouble hearing.
Allison, have you got anywhere else you can take the phone call, because you've got a lot of background noise? We can't hear you very well.
I'm in my office. It shouldn't be me.
Right, okay. Who else? Oh, I don't know then. Okay,
Are
anyway,
you hearing anything?
Good, try again.
I can hear,
Okay,
hear y'all.
That's
okay,
it, done
it's
now.
better now.
So, yeah,
Okay.
it's done. So can you give us a summary of your cases?
Yeah, sure. I've currently got 3 cases pending that I've actually filed suit on, and another that I'm prepared to file suit here shortly. I think I'm going to have to probably, but basically, I mean, I'm getting cases. Actually, thanks to Kristin. Actually, most of these, or at least one of them for sure, found me because Kristin contacted them and told them to get in touch with me. And so, again, just to piggyback on what y'all had said earlier, I mean, it's just such a awesome thing that she's doing for people, helping people find the resources and find attorneys, because a lot of people don't know that they have any recourse or that they can do anything. They don't feel like they have any options.
Yeah.
But they do, and so, yeah, I mean, and I actually take all my cases, at least the ones I have now, on contingency fees. So basically, if we settle and we get a money judgment, that's where my fee comes from, and nothing comes out of pocket for the clients. And I'm just really passionate about these cases. My first one I ever had, which kind of got me started on this, it just kind of fell into my lap, but it was a case that kind of went viral on the internet, but it was here in Louisiana, and there was a traveling musician who was, somewhat trespassing on property, but he had his dog with him, and cops shot that dog. And the saving grace for us was that there was an independent witness that was just there and saw the entire thing and was able to give statements to say that it was, completely, that the dog was wagging his tail and being friendly, and that, there was no reason that the dog should have been shot. And we were actually able to get that officer charged criminally. He had criminal charges filed against him, and we filed suit and settled that one. Because of a non-disclosure agreement, I'm not allowed to talk about, what we settled it for, but that was my very first case. And then since then, I've kind of just been getting calls for this kind of thing, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And I've got one currently that's pending in a parish in Louisiana that's out of my parish, but it's a few hours away. But we have a trial date set for July. We're talking settlement negotiation. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but basically in that instance, the dog was on its own property, but somebody had called and just said, hey, there's a loose dog and it's scary and it's scaring me or whatever. And so the police go out there to investigate, and I basically had them admit that they shut off their body cameras on purpose, and then the dog just somehow after that ends up being shot. And, of course, there's no other independent witnesses to disprove or corroborate the officer's stories. But, of course, they said the dog lunged at him. But for the whole basically hour in advance of, I did have the body camera video. I mean, the dog was staying close to its fence on its own property, never lunged at the officers, never even got close to the officers, and was just actually really just behaving and just barking. And so, I just really the fact that they would shut off their body cameras deliberately so that basically that we couldn't see what happened after that, I think that just speaks to their, I don't find the officers credible, because they both admitted that they did it on purpose. So, but the problem is, like I said, the main problem with these cases is you're going to have the officer saying, yeah, the dog was aggressive and it lunged at me, or I was doing this for protection or whatever, which a lot of times it's just, a he said, she said kind of deal, and you don't have that independent witness or, usually we have body cams in Louisiana, but like I said, in this instance, they chose to turn them off, which is very frustrating. So, there's just all kinds of stuff, but I have that one pending, and then I have two others that are pending in a parish called Beauregard Parish. And Louisiana, we're in the South. I love my state. I love a lot of things about Louisiana, but there's also a lot of things that I don't love, and we still have that kind of backwoods mentality here, especially in some of our smaller parishes and smaller cities. But I actually have two cases involving the same animal control officer, who he was a sheriff's deputy, but he was assigned to do animal control work. And he basically admitted in his deposition and in his reports that he was shooting dogs out of the window of his vehicle, just to basically because they were aggressive or whatever. Yeah, it's really wild. And like I said, Louisiana is kind of, it's a whole different world down here. But, and then another thing is, I get these, attorneys on the other side who are still kind of an old school mentality of, well, these dogs were mutts and they're not worth anything and they're not like show dogs, and so, I'm not offering you any money. And, and that's not really, they just don't get it, here. So I'm kind of opening up some eyes, hopefully, and, trying to just let them know that they can't do this without any recourse anymore. Maybe they used to be able to do this and nothing would happen, but if I have anything to say about it or do, I'm going to try to obviously change that. So, that's kind of the gist of some of the stuff I have going on right now. I have another one that I've recently been hired on, and I haven't filed suit yet, but the officer it was literally a 12-pound dog, a little rat terrier mix. No more than 12 pounds. It was ankle height. He alleged that the dog bit him or and there was no proof that he had any bites or anything like that. There was no medical records.
I just have
there was
to
no
stop
pictures
you there.
of any bites. Yeah, go ahead.
12 pounds it's just kind of like if you're in fear of your life over a 12-pound dog, you really should consider a different profession. I mean, that's
exactly.
just kind of like.
That's my thoughts exactly. Yeah. I mean, and like
that's
even if the dog had,
to be fair.
Yeah, even if the dog had bit him, if I believe his story to be true and the dog, did, I mean, is it really going to cause enough damage to where he feels the need to shoot and use lethal force rather than, something else? Or just kicking.
Well, and a dog that's small, you could pick up with one hand and hold it at arm's length. It can't get to you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's just so little.
Yeah,
I mean, what do you do when a puppy nips you? You shoot it.
And that, yeah, and my those are my thoughts exactly, and that's what I'm dealing with here in Louisiana. It's pretty bad, and I think these officers have just they just have never really thought otherwise. They think that that's just no big deal and that nothing's going to happen and nobody's going to care and nobody's going to reprimand them and they're not going to get in trouble, and it's just the easiest thing to do is pull out the gun and just shoot rather than try to do something else, try to tackle it from a different non-lethal way. And that's kind of the attitude for some of these. I'm not speaking for all police officers or all departments, but certainly there is kind of that mentality, especially down here in the South, and that's kind of what I've noticed.
Yeah, I'd agree because there was a case in St. Petersburg, Florida, a few years ago, where Allison, it was almost the exact same thing. 11 or 12-pound Lhasa Apso latched onto the officer's boot, and didn't even pierce the boot, and yet the officer pulled his weapon and at point blank range splattered the poor little dog all across the front doorstep. And those kind of things are just. I'm sorry, a 12-pound dog is not a lethal threat unless he's carrying an AR-15.
Exactly.
Then he probably can't pull the trigger because he doesn't have thumbs.
Right.
But you're very right with that. One of the things that works out when we don't have video, though, is the necropsies, which is an animal version of an autopsy, and the physical evidence. Because there's several cases that I've worked that said, the officer said, "Oh, the dog was charging me and was this and that." And unfortunately, when we have examined the body, we found they'd been shot from behind. And sometimes at one case I'm working now, from behind and at a substantial distance, which we can show by the angle of the bullet going through the body. And, the physical evidence doesn't lie. People can change their stories and they can turn off cameras, but when you've got a dog shot and the entrance wound is above the tail and the exit wound is under in the middle of its chest someplace, that's not a dog that was a threat at the moment that it was shot. And that's what has to be applied, is not whether 5 seconds ago or maybe in 10 minutes the dog was a threat, but when you fired, was the dog a threat? And if you fire the first time and miss and the dog runs away, it's over. You're done.
Yeah.
And that is poorly understood within too many law enforcement circles, even though we've taught people over the years that with humans they're no longer allowed to do that. But once if you miss the first time and the dog runs away, then you have the imminent threat no longer exists. The dog is fleeing from you, and okay, we're done. And if you injure the dog and it goes down, then you don't get to go finish him off because the dog is no longer a threat. And the way to do that would be to transport the dog to a vet and have them put down humanely and properly.
Yeah.
Well,
do you know what gets me is if they're saying that a small dog of that size is a threat to them, just imagine, I've now got grandchildren. Yes, I'm a little granny, bless it. But I've got little ones. So what would they do? So they have a little kid come and it bites them, they're just going to shoot it because they couldn't handle it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, if they can't handle a dog of that size, they shouldn't be in a uniform and definitely shouldn't be anywhere near a job like that. That's horrendous.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, and the fact is that it's extremely rare for a healthy human being to be killed by a dog or even multiple dogs. But a single dog to an adult human being, the research and cases I worked on fatalities, is it's not only rare for someone to be killed by dogs, period, but it's extremely rare that it's an adult that is not somehow either physically disabled or seriously impaired or medically impaired. That almost never happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Carry on.
Oh, I was going to say to kind of on what Jim was saying about getting the necropsy done and all that, and that is all absolutely true, everything he said. You know, the problem is a lot, like I said, a lot of people, when this happens to them, initially they don't realize that they have any recourse. They don't realize there are things that they can do to preserve evidence, and et cetera. And so in a couple of my cases, you know, the dogs have already been basically incinerated or, you know, disposed of, but the body, you know, by the time I get the case. And so, you know, I think it's very important for people out there, if they're listening and this happens to them, to immediately, you know, request that they do not dispose of the dog's body, that they want to keep it, and that they want to bring it to a vet to have a necropsy done, because, yeah, that can be – I had that in one of my cases, and it was very beneficial. But in these others, I don't have one because they just didn't – you know, the clients didn't realize that was something they needed to do, you know.
Well, and
fact,
actually, Allison,
go ahead.
On one of your cases, the one with the guy that has lots of dogs.
Yeah.
You know the case I'm talking about? So that dog was shot on a Friday. I filed a record of retention letter before 5 o'clock, hoping to preserve that body until he could talk to you. And by Sunday, that body was already cremated.
Right. They did it despite your request to preserve evidence. Correct. Yeah, you're correct on that one. Yeah.
Right, everybody, just for a quick minute, I've actually got on the line, and Jim, I wanted your help in this as well. I've actually hopefully got, and I'm not sure who I've got, if I've got Graham or Jenna. Hi, how are you doing? You okay?
They've got both of us.
We're good, thank you.
Oh, hi, how are you doing? Right, just to let everybody know, I'm saying Jana because that's my daughter. Jenna and Graham are actually campaigning at the moment for justice for Angel. Do you want to say the story? It's easier for you to say the story what happened. And you're actually in the UK, aren't you? You're in my lovely country.
Yes, we are, yes.
So tell us a bit about the story about Angel.
Yes, so Angel was a dog that was left abandoned. She was tied to a telegraph pole near the railway track. We went down on the morning, obviously, see if we could free her basically and get her the help that she needed. What happened after that is basically the police had turned up, the RSPCA had turned up, and basically, cut a long story short, it essentially went from there. The police made the decision that she was too aggressive. They couldn't sedate her because she was too aggressive to be sedated. So they made the decision to shoot her, and they actually shot her.
Now you did say to me, first of all, did I read right that somebody was actually feeding her prior to this?
That's correct, yes. There was one member of the public who was hand-feeding her, and also the RSPCA representative also hand-fed her as well.
Right, okay. And they just didn't actually shoot her. How long then was it after the feeding? How long after was it they actually went and shot her?
It took, all in all, about 6 hours. So from when we arrived there on the morning to the police getting there, RSPCA getting there and everything like that, we were there for 6 hours in total. And I would say the police and RSPCA were there maybe about 3 hours.
Right. And during that time, did you actually see any aggression? What caused it to start?
No, basically there was no aggression at all. She wasn't barking, she wasn't growling. Basically, she was absolutely petrified. It was fear. So when she was being hand-fed, there was no growling, there was no aggression. The only time she barked and kind of tried to protect herself was when the dog wardens came down in the high visibility jackets.
Right.
But she hadn't, I mean, a dog that shown aggression, there was no, like, showing of the teeth, you know.
Wagging her tail.
Yep, she was wagging her tail. You know, she was quite happy to have the company around her. I mean, like I said, we were so close to her. Literally, we were really close to her. They're close enough to be able to hand feed her.
Yeah. So let's go back, because obviously some people might not have heard the story. So when you actually got to it, I mean, people are going to say, so why didn't you just undo her and take her to wherever? What was the situation at the start? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I mean, I understand people say that. The reason we didn't try and do that is obviously Angel was petrified. We don't know how long she'd actually been there for. It was really cold. The temperatures were starting to drop. So what we were worried about is if we tried to untie her and Angel did bite one of us, you know, through sheer fear, that would give the police cause for justice to put her to sleep.
Yeah.
We were waiting for the authorities. That's what we were waiting for. We were waiting for the
vet. What area did this happen?
I can understand that.
Yeah, what area was this that this happened? Where in the UK?
Hartlepool, northeast.
Okay.
Near Newcastle.
Yeah, I've worked with some of the British police over there, and just like here in this country, unfortunately, experience and skill varies from place to place. I've been fortunate enough to work with the status dog unit fellows with the Met in London, and what you're describing is very different from what I have seen them handle it. But that's one of the things we're pushing with our training course, is so police officers understand the difference between a vicious dog, a dangerous dog, and a frightened dog.
Yeah.
And that by use their skills and practical things they can do with a frightened dog, that
the RSPCA
can ease the dog and can certainly make it much safer for everybody, including the dog.
But like Graham's just said, and I was just about to say the same thing, we have got the RSPCA in the UK. I won't even start with my thoughts on the RSPCA for this evening. That's a different show. But they are trained. They cost them thousands to train these RSPCA inspectors. And this RSPCA guy obviously was not interested or not bothered if he wasn't even going to try and able to get that dog from there. Why couldn't they sedate the dog? Why couldn't they do all these other things? Why did they just have to go and shoot it when it's fastened to something? Jim, it wasn't as if it was running the streets. It wasn't as if it was a threat to anybody. It was tied to a tree. Do you know what I mean?
And those are all very, 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 very good questions as to why, especially somebody as presumably skillful as someone trained by the RSPCA would be, why did they not exercise other options? And that's one of the things we have to get through, whether it's in the UK or here, is that there's not one answer, but the idea with any situation is to try and contain the situation and then give yourself the ability to use the options that you have. You don't have to be in a hurry, and you don't have to prove anything to anybody. Just slow down.
Yeah, exactly.
There was no vets,
Graham, sorry, what were you trying to say?
There was no vets actually present. They were on the phone, so there was actually not a qualified vet that actually made that decision whether the dog was aggressive.
So they made that decision over the phone. They deemed Angel aggressive over the phone. There was no vet actually on the scene to determine this.
Jim, when you came over...
And then again, why didn't they just simply slow down and get somebody there? And if they had a vet on the phone, slow down, have somebody bring out something to be able to medicate the dog safely and to slow it down, because there are as a former or still as a certified animal control officer and having run 2 animal control agencies, I can tell you that there's plenty of substances that you can do anything from shoot them with a dart gun to throw it in a wad of hamburger and toss it to them. I mean,
That told us that if they sedated the dog, they would kill it.
Yeah, but we had a capture team on the way. We actually had a capture team on the way to be able to collect Angel safely, and the police wouldn't wait. They wouldn't give us the time for the capture team to come and do this.
And the rehoming charity.
And the rehoming charity. We had a capture team and a rehoming charity, rehoming sanctuary as well. And
then that's a shame because that's a shame because if the dog was contained, then there's no what we legally here would call exigency or a need to move immediately. Instead, it was a matter of convenience.
Yeah, I mean there was a fence there. I mean the where Angel was, you know, she wasn't loose. Like I said, she was tied up and she was behind a 6-foot fence. So there was no danger at all. But
it's absolute crazy. The thing with me, what gets me as well, is when you said to me, we had a conversation, and what stuck in my mind is when you said to me, it took them 2 shots to shoot her, and then the police officer and the RSPCA guy was there, and they were laughing at the time.
Yeah, that's correct.
Photos of them actually laughing.
We've got photos and everything, and it's an RSPCA. Like I said, we have an actual photo of the RSPCA. Who was a female. She was stood over Angel's body and she just had a smirk on her face. We've also got video footage as well of how calm Angel was. You know, there was no signs of aggression at all. We've got photographs, we've got video footage, we've got everything to prove that Angel was not aggressive.
Well, I mean, these guys have worked with me before and you two have only just got to meet me, but I promise you, on the Sue Show, we're taking this further, okay? I am 100% behind your page. What's your page called? Have you got, was it Justice for Angel, wasn't it?
Yep, so we're on Facebook as Justice for Angel, and we're also on Twitter as well as JFA Campaign.
Right, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to get those photos and then videos. I want you to upload them or you can share them to me, whichever you like. And I'm going to put a plea out there for anybody who knows this RSPCA officer or knows the police or anybody on these pictures and videos. I want you to actually email me, asksueshow@gmail.com, and I want to find out who actually did this because I want to invite them on the show. You cannot just go and shoot up a tied-up dog and say that it's acceptable because at the end of the day, how I see it, that could have been my dog. Maybe somebody found it, they tied it to a tree, and my dog was fastened to a tree, and you think it's okay to just go and shoot my dog because it's scared? Nah, not on my watch, you don't. No way.
We have submitted Freedom of Information requests, and every single one was denied. The RSPCA nor the police disclose any information. They just won't disclose anything. Like I said, every single one of our Freedom of Information requests, every single one got declined.
There's about 10 of us actually put in as witnesses.
Yeah. Right, well, I'll tell you what. I'll make it quite a few more. I'll get the details off you. We'll put it on the Sue Radio Show page. And I promise you, I know my animal advocates in America and all over the world will actually contact these people via email and everything. And by the time they've finished, they'll want to give it up because they will be sick of the phone calls.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much, Sue.
I don't mean to be funny. I only wish that on that day I could have heard the story, and I'm not joking, I would have come to you myself. We've done so many dogs shot by police. Even in America, I can remember the one, I'm sure Jim and Kristin, you'll remember the one that was actually in somebody's garage, and it literally just come out of their garage, and they shot it right outside their house. And I'll never forget that video as long as I live. This is years ago now. And I can remember that as if it was yesterday. So we're 100% behind you. I will promise you that we will do another show just for Angel. And I will be having a word with Jim and see if he's got some people in the know. When we finish the show, I'll have a word with Jim and see if he's got anybody that he can contact to see if we can find out any more information as well.
All right. Even if he can go on our page and message us, we can have a conversation and ask him some questions. I mean, just things that we've been butting our heads against the wall for months now.
Like I said, we are on
Yeah,
Facebook.
I
and we
can
are
do
on
that because
Twitter.
there are a few people
Yep.
in the London area that I'm going to get to your page and recommend you contact, and they should have a network.
We also, as well, we have set up a peaceful protest on the 8th of April. And this basically is just to try and get everybody together and ensure our support for Angel. Just to ensure that she isn't forgotten, and obviously to show that we are fighting.
Yeah, whereabouts is the protest?
It's exactly where it happened, so it's on the same place where it happened. So it is in Hartlepool.
Right.
And the details are on our Justice for Angel page on Facebook.
And what time is that going to be on?
It will be on at 2 p.m.
Right. I will try my hardest to try and get up there with you, okay? And we'll get
like
some
I said, any
Facebook Live videos.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you.
Like I said, it starts at 2 and it is on Mainsforth Terrace, which is exactly where we lost Angel. But like I said, all of the details can be found on our page, and obviously feel free to message us if you would like anything else answering.
Yeah. Now, the very last question I need to ask you just before you go: do we actually know who owned Angel?
Oh,
we don't. We do have an idea, but obviously nothing's been released or anything like that. So
we think he's been taken to court and he's been prosecuted, but we're not. We can't get any information whatsoever.
No details have been disclosed regarding this. They've closed everything off. But we believe we know who it is.
Right, okay. If anybody's got actually any information on, obviously, the owner of Angel, or you can help in any way with both Graham and Jenna, please give me an email, asksueshow@gmail.com. If you've got any ideas that you know that we can help the page, please go and like the page, give it a share, and we will be getting you back on next week for another show. Is that okay?
That is fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, listen, you're absolutely fine, and thank you both for all your hard work. I absolutely take my hat off to you, and I will be speaking to you very soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thanks very much,
guys.
That's
all right. Thanks very much, both. Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Do you know what? These shows never cease to amaze me. They never cease to amaze me. The dog was actually fastened to a tree. You know, it was behind a 6-foot fence, and they actually think that it's okay just to do it. It's a bit mind-blowing, isn't it? A bit mind-blowing, to say the least.
Right.
Yeah,
just hard.
I don't understand why anybody would find it necessary to immediately deploy deadly force to shoot a restrained animal. It doesn't make. I don't care how nasty and ugly it's acting at that moment. If you've got, we teach the officers, if you've got time, which it sounds like they did, then take time. Don't get in a hurry. The question is not your convenience. The question is, what is the best, most humane, and most professional thing you can do? And if that means you hang out for an extra few minutes and wait for somebody to show up that knows what they're doing, or if you're going to, just because you're going to miss tea doesn't mean you need to get in a hurry.
Exactly. Do you know what, Jim? I mean, I'm not qualified in dog catching or dog napping or anything else, right? But my first thing is, if the dog is fastened to a tree, and the dog has been there for a bit, they said it was hungry, why couldn't even the police or the RSPCA get a dog cage, put it right in the front of it with a big, I don't care if it's a Sunday roast dinner, right, put it right in front of it. Surely to God the dog's going to walk in because it's hungry, and then you shut the door and you take it to wherever it needs to go.
Don't know. I've done it, so I don't know.
Do you know what I mean? But I really do want to speak to the police and the RSPCA, but that comes down to what they've got to say.
But I think it comes down to whether or not people care. Like, some people really, they just don't care. They don't get it. Animals really just don't mean anything to them. And I think the hardest thing for me to come to terms with like in the very beginning, was that I couldn't make them care. Nothing that I did would ever make them care what they did to my dogs or what it did to me. So once I got past that, I had to think about a different, avenue, and that is, consequences. If they're faced with consequences, they're going to reconsider their actions. That's all that it is. If it's too expensive to shoot a dog, they're going to stop. Is money going to give me my dog back? Is it going to make me feel better? No, but they're going to think twice the next time they're confronted with an animal. So
exactly.
Sadly,
unfortunately,
that's true,
the position
and
you're
that's
put in.
why in the legal, that's why in the legal cases, whether it's with Allison or any of the other attorneys, we try to make the consequences as severe as possible, not because somebody's looking to get rich, but because we want it to become a deterrent, where at the same time we provide, by providing the training, we can provide the tools to make sure they understand what those options are, and with the financial awards, make it worthwhile for the department to say, no, this is not going to happen. And one of the things that has started in some of the cases here in the U.S., and Allison knows what I'm talking about, a lot of police departments, they will proceed the officers to be shielded behind what's called qualified immunity, which means if the officer is doing his job and something goes wrong, then they're protected to a certain extent from any personal consequences or liability. Yet in several cases now, including the one in Colorado where the dog was shot while still standing inside the garage, we've had a number of cases now where qualified immunity is being attacked, and has even been ruled by courts that the officer's conduct was so egregious that there's no expectation. And suddenly, when the officers are personally liable, suddenly they're now paying attention. And it's sad. I mean, as a retired officer myself, I hate seeing the individuals get caught, but in a situation, but they need to be exercising better judgment on what they're doing themselves, rather than expecting somebody else to hold their hand, and instead do the right thing, not necessarily the easy thing.
Absolutely. Do you think that this is the whole problem, is that they know that they've got everybody else to pay for stuff, and that the whole police department is going to protect them? Do you think if we did actually change it, that would make a huge difference?
I'm not sure that it's a matter of active thought that they're going to be protected from anything they do. I think that in some cases the officers just don't care, and whether it's a human or a dog or whatever, they're going to do what they feel like. In some cases, I think that the departments are sadly remiss in that simply they've never bothered to take the time to teach their people how to act right and what to do. And some officers go out and they make their own effort, and to the point that some officers in places go out and with their own money they'll buy a catch pole, or they'll look for training or look for advice on things. And those are the ones that care. And that's what I think Kristin is talking about. And it comes down to that, is to the difference between those officers who care and those officers who are just being cavalier with other people's property. Or, one of the things we say is, okay, what's the difference here? Your dog is aggressive, but my dog is doing his job. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Right. Oh, that's been a bit great. I must admit, I have just... It's crazy, isn't it? That just common sense does not prevail at times.
Yeah.
Common sense.
I mean,
common sense isn't.
Like Allison, her guy who's shooting dogs from inside the car where obviously there's no threat at all. I mean, that,
exactly.
to me, that's a bad apple. That isn't someone who just needs to learn better skills. That's a bad apple, in my opinion. You know?
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
And
well,
the person from a middle-sized city in the United States where in 1 year he shot and killed 26 dogs personally, while the entire New York City Police Department, which has almost 40,000 officers total in 1 year, only shot 25.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
Good grief.
So, go ahead.
That's mad. Go on, Kristin.
So
okay.
one of the things that I wanted to bring up is back before they did the training for Texas, I started doing records requests for every law enforcement agency in Texas. It took 6 months, 18-hour days, no days off. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm actually being very conservative with that analysis. And the hard thing about it is a lot of agencies want to refuse your records request. So then you have to file claims with the Attorney General. Then you have to argue back and forth via mail, you know, and it's just this very time-consuming process. So now that they have the training, though, I wanted to wait an appropriate number of years and do it again and see how the training is affecting everything, or if at all. But the thing is everyone doesn't get trained right away. Like the police on the force don't get trained until their next annual renewal training. Then you have the new officers, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to give it at least 3 years before I started doing that again. So if anyone's listening and you want to help, please let me know. That would be great. Thanks. Yeah. It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your email address, Kristin, for anybody who wants to help in any way, whether it be do phone calls for you or do some emailing or whatever?
You can send it to Kristin, Kristin, as Nancy, at 4cops. It's the number 4. And it's KOPS.org. And it stands for keeping our pets safe.
Excellent. Excellent. So, Kristin, if you want to put that in the chat room as well, and then we'll put that in the group as well after the show.
Okay. Thanks so much, you guys. I'm going to have to get going.
Yeah.
Okay, then, Kristin.
Thanks,
well,
Allison.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Kristin.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
And thanks to I've got to go too, but I've sent your friends with Angel. I've sent them 2 names to track down and resources in the London area that may be able to give them referrals.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jim.
That'd
Cheers for that. And I'll send you the pages and everything, and we'll obviously keep in touch with that.
Okay, thanks. Take care. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, Jim. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Hi, Allison.
All right, I guess that's my cue as well, yeah.
No, it's not. Far from it. What I want to do is, obviously, you've actually been doing this for, obviously, as Kristin said, you've still got your L plates on a little bit, but obviously you've done a lot. What's the best thing that the people that have had their dog shot by police, what's the first protocol they really need to do?
Immediately get in touch with an attorney. And if they can't do that immediately, if it's over the weekend or something like that and they don't have an attorney that they can call, then the first thing I do is I send out, and actually Kristin was someone that helped me. She sent me her form that she uses. Basically, it's a request to preserve evidence, and we do that as soon as possible. As soon as the dog's been shot, as soon as something happens, if you can send over or fax to the police department, the animal control, whoever's involved, immediately send out some sort of notice to preserve any and all evidence. That was kind of what we were discussing earlier about the bodies and the necropsies and stuff like that. If sometimes if there's no notice to preserve, that they'll just do whatever they want with the bodies and they'll get rid of them, or the owners don't know and they'll just say, sure, you can do what you got to do, and then you've lost your evidence. Now, I know here, you know, in Louisiana, where I'm from, the notice to preserve isn't really, I mean, it's not necessarily a court order or anything, so they're not under any court order, but it basically puts them on notice that, like, hey, I want you to preserve all this stuff. I want you to keep the body. I want you to, you know, keep the bullet, keep the pictures, whatever. You know, don't erase the dash or the body camera. And then if they do that after you put them on notice, I mean, obviously the court can take an adverse inference from that. You know, it just doesn't smell right at that point. You know what I mean? So I would say that the most immediately, that's the first thing to do. And just really, you know, document your own evidence if you can. I mean, take pictures of it. You know, write down things that happened, and just, you know, because people's memories tend to, you know, within a couple days you may not remember. So, yeah, just stuff like that. I say that's the most important thing to do right off the bat. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And also get witnesses as well. Anybody that, like, heard the firing or seen the firing or whatever, the more, obviously, witnesses you've got and the more evidence, that's going to be better. But, Jim, I can remember going back on the shows, Alison, a while ago, and we were literally talking about, I can remember Jim and Kristin, we were talking about it, saying about keeping the bodies, make sure that, you know, you have it inspected and which way the bullets come in. But I can also remember that somebody had said they'd actually buried their dog. They found out this information from, I think, from our show or something, and they literally went back out in the garden and dug their dog back up. Because
so that it could get examined? Yeah. You know what I mean? And this is the thing.
Right. The thing is, I mean, I recently had to have my dog put down, and I know what I was like, and that was having my dog put down. Now, imagine for people I know what Kristin went through. Yeah, thank you. And literally, and I think to myself, imagine just having a dog shot by police. The last thing you're going to think is, I need to preserve the body, or I need to whatever. The fact that the cop is now still standing and he's got in his car is a massive respect to this person, because if it been me, I'd have beat the shit out of him and he would have been in prison.
Right, exactly.
I'd have been locked up and you'd be my attorney, never mind for the dog.
Right. Exactly. No, and people are shocked. You know, they're in shock. And then people naturally, of course, want to trust the police, and they want to, you know, defer to their authority. And, you know, so they're not initially thinking, oh, what, you know, sometimes they think, okay, well, maybe the officer just, he had to do it, you know, and I get maybe my dog was aggressive, and maybe, you know, or whatever, you know, if they weren't there. I mean, if they were there, that's a different story and they saw it with their own eyes, but a lot of times it happens out of the view of the owner or whoever, and so they're just kind of hearing it secondhand, and they're going, oh my gosh, you know, and then, but, you know, and that's another thing too, is you can't always, unfortunately, you can't always trust everything that the police say, because you have to do your own investigation, and you may get those videos or those reports, and it may show paint a totally different picture than what, you know, they're originally that the owners were led to believe. And so, you know, I would just say if it happens to anybody, you know, you meet them, the quicker you can act, the better, and just be vigilant about it and really, like, you know, look into it and get help. You know, and unfortunately there's not a whole lot of attorneys that I know of, especially in my area, that do this either. This is kind of a new thing, really, and you know, it's me and a handful of others in my state that I know that would even touch something like this. So it's not just it's not something that people know that they can just readily have an attorney readily available. You know, but hopefully we're changing minds on that.
Alison,
so.
Yeah. The other thing, Alison, is there ever a time? Because I always think when I've done these shows, I've always thought, God, if they shot my dog, I'd think I'd batter them. I would just go into I'd lose my head totally. Has there actually ever been owners prosecuted because they've actually challenged the police after dogs have been shot?
You know what? I have never experienced that or seen that, but I'm the same with you. I feel like I would have done the same thing. But every case I've come across, mostly everyone, I think, like I said, I think they're just in such shock that they really don't. Yeah. They're kind of they don't know how to act or what to do, and they're kind of questioning things in their head. And you know, like the case I told you about, my very first case I had, the very first one I ever handled, it was a big case, and it was all over the media. I mean, it was a very it was shared all over social media and just kind of got a lot of attention. But you know, that guy was a self-proclaimed hobo. I mean, he was a traveling musician, and he just traveled with his dog everywhere. And the cop literally shot the dog, I mean, right in front of his face, you know, and if anybody, I would have
Really?
expected him to be the one that would get up and do something. But, he just, all he could do was, basically scream and cry, and it's just,
exactly.
so, I guess you never know what you're going to do in that. I guess you never know what you're going to do when you're put into that kind of situation. But I've had the same thoughts you've had, and I said, God, if that would have been me, I'd have been in jail because I would have done something violent,
Exactly. And, it's like Max has just said in the chat room, many of these dogs were shot in front of the family, the kids, and whatever. I mean, I've even saw one, going back a bit again, but when there was actually a raid on the house, and these police had gone in, there was dogs in cages, and they shot them in the cages in front of the kids.
In the cage, yeah.
They weren't even
out.
Yeah,
that's
and they were actually in
absolutely
cages.
Insane. Yeah.
How on earth they get away with this, I don't know. I really don't know. But if you've got any of your clients that have actually won their case and they're actually able to talk, if any of them want to actually come on the show and sort of talk about their dealings and how they've gone through it, and and give people tips that have actually lost their dogs, by all means ask them to contact me, or if you get in touch, do you know what I mean? Because I think the thing is, like Kristin, she's actually been through it, and I think that's why she's so passionate and she does things so right, and she's helped so many people. We need to get people that have actually gone through these situations, and I've seen the ones that have said they've literally opened the door because the police have knocked on the door, the dog's run past them, and boom, it's gone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that happens a lot. That happens a lot. Yeah.
Exactly, and okay, so let's have a quick thing. What's the laws about dogs literally roaming the streets in America? Have you got what's the law with dogs? I know in the UK now, they have to be microchipped to literally be on the streets and everything. What's the situation in the US?
Well, every state here is got different rules and regulations, and actually every city within each state kind of probably has their own rules and regulations. But generally, and at least I can speak for Louisiana for sure, but I mean, you're not allowed to you're not supposed to let your dog roam off a leash or not in its own yard, okay? We don't have any requirements here that would require microchipping or anything like that. I wish we could, or we should, but we don't. But it's basically, it's such a,
you guys, okay?
yeah, I'd love that. And having your dog off a leash, I mean, yeah, you could get ticketed for it and cited. It's not a huge deal, but it definitely is frowned upon. You're not supposed to do that, but that still doesn't give the police officer the right to just decide to shoot a dog just because it happens to be loose, But that's a lot of the cases I have are the dog. I have the couple that I mentioned earlier. The dog was loose, or somebody had reported the dog being loose and running the streets or whatever. And that it scared them or whatever, because it looks like a scary dog, but not necessarily that it is. It just looks scary. And so the police show up and then they don't know how to corral it or what to do, and so they end up shooting it. And it's just, I mean, something that as minute as a, hey, my dog accidentally got out of my yard or wasn't on a leash, should not result in having it be shot. There's other ways to handle that kind of thing. Yeah. So, I mean, we have leash laws here in Louisiana. I mean, we're supposed to either have our dog on a leash or, confined to our own yard. Yeah.
Right, okay. But the thing is, it's been times when the police have actually come into back of a garden or come into the yard or come through the gate because they're looking for somebody. Do you know what I mean? And they've actually shot them in their own gardens, their own yards or whatever.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, in fact, go ahead.
Sorry, carry on.
Well, yeah, actually, the most of the cases I have right now are like that. By the time the police actually showed up, the dog had gone back into its own yard, and so when the dogs were shot, they were on their own property.
Exactly. How many of the cases that you look at are most of them, or how much percentage can you actually say that you can actually get results from? Are most of them actually down to the police, or do you get the odd one where we have got the odd owner that is just has ignored warnings or whatever? Do you know what I mean?
Wait, so can you repeat that question?
So like, what's the percentage? You know, we've got, obviously, there's a lot of dogs shot by police, but how many of these are actually down to the owners? Let's just say they've just not bothered. They've let the dog out, or they weren't bothered, and something's happened. How many of these are actually down to the owners and not the police?
Well, I don't know if I have a percentage for you or a specific number. I mean, I will say in at least 2 of my cases, yeah, the owners probably, you know, had some small amount of, you know, fault, I guess you could say, by, you know, maybe their fence wasn't completely enclosed and the dog got out, or, you know, they just kind of, you know, and again, I keep bringing this up, but I kind of, where I'm from in the south of Louisiana, a lot of people are of the mentality that they just let their dogs kind of roam around the neighborhood, and we live in a rural area with, you know, lots of space, and it's not, you know, most of these places are not big cities, and so a lot of these people, they see no problem with, hey, I just leave my dog on my porch during the day while I go to work, and then I come back and he's still there. He doesn't go anywhere. I don't do that with my dogs, but a lot of people around where I live, a lot of people still do that, and it doesn't mean that they don't, you know, they still love their dog, and they you know, I mean, but they just maybe haven't made the best decisions as far as, hey, maybe you shouldn't have, you know, let your dog, you know, roam around without, you know, whatever. So yeah, I mean, I have to admit that sometimes there are times when the owners probably didn't do the best thing that they could have done, but again, the result that's happening in them dogs being shot is so not in proportion to the, you know, them just accidentally leaving their dogs out, or, you know, whatever. So I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, I tried.
Yes,
so.
no, that's fine. The other thing, what's the main breed that this is happening to?
Let me tell you this, to piggyback on what you were just saying. I mean, I have never really had a case where, even if, like I said, I feel like the owner maybe kind of had a mishap and let the dog loose or whatever, still, in every case that I have taken on, in my opinion, the police officer was wholly in the wrong when they decided to shoot the dog. So, you know, if you're asking, you know, was it ever just the owners but, you know, maybe the owners had some slight, you know, participation in what, you know, or not participation, but slight, their actions kind of resulted, but the officers, from what I have seen, has just been wholly unreasonable and just unnecessary, the shooting, to shoot them. I mean, it was just absolutely 100% unnecessary. And so, you know, I just wanted to add that.
See, the thing is, like, changing the subject a little bit, but like in the UK,
sure,
I used to have a beautiful Rottweiler, and she was gorgeous. She was ill-treated. She was 14 weeks old, 4 kilos in weight. And I used to take her on the lead, and we'd go down the park. And then you would have these, I'll be careful of my words, but dog walkers, okay? And they were literally walking their dogs, but they weren't even on leads. And I have actually had, on many occasions, these owners will shout to me, "Is your dog friendly?" And I'm like, "Is my dog friendly? You've got 3 dogs running around off leads. Mine is on a lead by me. And you've got your dogs running up at me at 90 miles an hour, and you're expecting my dog and asking me, is my dog friendly?" Well, probably not, because she's suddenly gone into defending her mum because she thinks these 3 dogs may attack her mum.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean? But then as soon as my Lottie went, well, it's a vicious dog. No, it's got nothing to do with the dog. It's the fact that you've got your 3 dogs running around like lunatics. No offense to dogs, but that's the owner's fault for letting it off. And this is what I'm saying to you. Is it the fact that sometimes, you know, we've also got where we have people that have dogs for the wrong reasons, whether it's, you know, they're vicious for a job, let's just say, not the wrong reasons, but, you know, you've got dogs that are protected, they're literally to protect a home or a business or whatever. If the police go to them, of course the dogs are going to protect. That's what they were trained to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And this is the thing. So that was sort of where I was leading, is the times when it is actually the dog, but even though that the dog shouldn't be shot? Is it sometimes because of how the owner has brought up the dog?
I have not had occasion to deal with any dog that I thought, or, case where I thought the dog was brought up aggressive or was even acting aggressively, to be honest with you. Most of my suits the dogs were not being aggressive. Now, like what Jim said earlier is, these cops will say, well, it was barking or whatever, and that's aggressive. Well, just because the dog's barking at you doesn't mean he's going to bite you or he's aggressive, okay? He's just barking because somebody's coming on his property, and that's what all dogs do. I mean, they're, and so I haven't had any...
Yeah, it goes back to the saying, don't have a dog and bark yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I have not personally seen, now I'm sure there are cases out there where dogs have been shot that were aggressive or whatever, but the majority of the stuff that I handle that's not the case. The dogs were really just being dogs, and they were on their own property. They were barking, and just to me, barking does not, that doesn't indicate that the cops need to use lethal force.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So how often have you been? Obviously, you've only just taken this sort of thing on, but how often do you get phone calls? Is this every day that you're getting phone calls, or every week?
Oh, no.
You mean?
No. No, it's not nearly that much. It's really, and I would say every, at least once a year I take a case on, probably since I've started. But I mean, and I sometimes get calls and then the person doesn't follow through or doesn't want to go through with it or whatever, but it's not something that I get every day. Absolutely not. It's more, I would say every 6 months I might get a call about something like this, and sometimes I'll take the case, sometimes I won't. It just depends. But yeah, I mean, but it's not now. And again, I think that's because animal law and animal suits and anything dealing with animals, especially, in the United States and then even in the South in the United States, I mean, this is a completely newer area of law. I mean, even, like I said, a lot of attorneys won't even touch it because they don't think it's worth their time or their effort, or they're not going to, it's going to be more work than it's worth. And I have found the opposite. I mean, I have found that these cases, if you get the right ones, I mean, they can be worth your while. And then too, not only that, just monetarily, I mean, it's a passion of mine. I mean, I feel good doing these, and I can't say that for a lot of my other cases. It's rare that I really get, a case that I'm super passionate about. And so, I enjoy helping people and doing these kind of things. So.
Well, I'm looking forward to you coming back on the show on many times when we do these Dog Shot by Police. But also, Alison, give us a quick shout-out for yourself, email or telephone number that people can contact you if they've got the same issue.
Sure, yeah. It's my name's Alison Antoon, and my email is Alison, ALYSON, @Antoon Law Firm, ANTOON, lawfirm.com. I also have a Facebook page. It's called Antoon Law Firm, ANTOON. So Facebook or email is an easy way to reach me.
Right, excellent. So, and you also did say, just let me say to people that are just listening into the show, Alison did say that obviously did you say that there was no money up front to be paid? It literally came out after once people have won their case. Is that right?
Yeah, that's generally how I do it. Another thing I'll add is that, where I'm in the States, I am only licensed to practice law in Louisiana. So if I get a call from another state or somebody, I'd have to refer somebody out to a different lawyer that can practice in that state. But I can certainly give it, kind of give some sort of advice on what to do and where to go, and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, for now, what I have done is most of these people that do hire me, I mean, they can't really afford a lawyer, and I work off a contingency fee. So basically, it's like a personal injury kind of deal. I mean, if we recover, a judgment at the end or a settlement, then I take my fee out of that, and so I don't take attorneys' fees.
Right. Okay.
I mean, not up
well,
front.
Alison,
I don't take a fee up front. I take it out of the contingency of what they would settle for, or whether if we went to trial and we got a judgment, I would take my fee out of that, but nothing out of pocket of the client is what I meant.
Excellent. Because my first thing was like, you just had your dog shot by a policeman, you're absolutely thing, and then you suddenly sit there and think, actually, I can't afford this, and I think that's hard, do you know what I mean? But I've got to say thank you ever so much for coming on the show and everything, and I will love to speak to you again on another show once we bring some more out. And anybody that wants to give Alison a call, I will put the number in the Ask Sue Show group on Facebook, and anybody that needs any more info, you can email me asksueshow@gmail.com, and I'll forward you on to you. Okay,
all right,
Alison,
great.
Thank you so much.
It's been it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
Have
Bye-bye.
a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Now, I'm going to be taking another caller in a minute, but I just want to say thank you very much to everybody who's listening in to the Ask Sue Show. If you would like to email asksueshow@gmail.com if you've got any information or any story that we do, you want to speak to us about it, maybe you've missed the numbers or whatever, give us an email and we'll definitely forward on. You can join us on Blog Talk Radio, and we have got a chat room, so if you register on Blog Talk, you can actually join us in on the chat room, and we post all the links in there, and also about the upcoming shows. Now, on the 16th, I've got Patrick's birthday. That is Patrick the Miracle Dog. We did quite a few shows over Patrick. That is on the 16th. That's on Friday. Then we've got on the 21st, we've got Lisa Beretta and Mike Totti. We'll be doing, that is our anniversary show. It is 6 years ago since I did my very first show. Now, that's really showing me age, I can tell you. But that's Lisa Beretta and Mike Totti will be in. We'll be doing some readings, and we'll be doing various things, birth charts and all sorts. So please give us a call into the show. And then the 28th, we've got Lisa and talking to us about her book, Conscious Ink with Tattoos. And we've got some tattooists coming on and talking about what we've have put on our arms and everything. And maybe I might even take a photo of my tattoo and let them have a look at that and let them tell me what I need to put extra to it. So what I'm going to do, I thought I'd have a little bit of a giggle before I go to the next caller. And I just wanted to do a little bit of a memory thing. And this was one of the giggles we had on the Ask Sue show. And it was when we had Philip McKee on the show. And I had actually had Sean in the chat room telling me about apparently a lady had said that her son been abducted by aliens and he was now a fish finger. Have a listen to this. On the Earth plane and called them humans as well. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, we don't really know, do we? But I wonder whether, sorry, I'm just going to read this before it goes off chat. Max had just put that there was once a woman on Trisha's show once claiming aliens turned her son into a fish finger. Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh. That doesn't sound right, does it? No. Well, I think it's changing the, it's not changing the subject. Oh, bloody fish finger. I don't know what actually meant. Not even a complete fish, just a finger.
Everyone is in fits of laughter.
Five fits here. Absolutely. I nearly said something rude then. I've got something else funny to tell you today. I've got something else funny that happened to me today. I've just got to tell you something funny. Max said it was in the papers, but I thought he said it was just a fish finger, not fish and chips. And then she kept him in the freezer. What? Oh. Max was just, and then Max thought they put him on a plate with other fish fingers and asked her to identify him. Oh no, this is silly. So funny. Oh, I tell you what, I've got to tell you something really funny. Oh, do you know, my eyes are running, honestly. Literally, oh dear. Max, you just... There's one thing I do love is playing memories on our Sue show, and that was definitely one of them. Right, let's go back to Dog Shot by Police show. We've had an amazing show so far. Thank you very much to Kristin and to Jim Crosby, and also Justice for Angels, who've also been on, and obviously we've had Alison, the attorney. And now we'll go to Jeffrey. Hi, Jeffrey. How are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Very good, Sue. Thanks.
Right, now, you've got a page with regard to Dog Shot by Police. Do you want to tell us how you started and about the page?
Well, sure. I'm the administrator of the Facebook page Dog Shot by Police. We report on officer-involved dog shootings in the United States, which means I'm an extremely busy person because it's happening more and more every single day. The page started in 2011 by a woman named Denise LaChance, who I still, Facebook friends and communicate with. She started way back in the day when these cases were just starting to be publicized, and it was more of a community page and, how to get help if your dog was shot. But things have just got so out of control in the States over the years that now we've become more of a news media magazine-type page that just is overwhelmed with the stories of egregious police misconduct and people's dogs being shot, people being shot when police are shooting at dogs, people being killed when cops are shooting at dogs, children wounded, you name it. It's just out of control over here.
So how many do you reckon that you're having, say, once a month? How many a month or whatever do you reckon?
Oh, I would lose count if I was just talking about, monthly totals. It's
really?
There's first of all, we can only report stories that are reported and properly reported. A lot of newspapers will just print the police report, which is a total biased virtual lie on what happened. I mean, how many times has anyone read a police report that says, oops, sorry, we overreacted? They always justify it, okay? So we can only report what's reported, and then there's dozens and dozens and dozens that never get any media attention. So we probably report less than 25% of the shootings, and we're overwhelmed. That's how bad it is. Do you know what? We did the shows quite a while ago now. It's going to be 2 or 3 years at least since I've been doing shows, and we were literally blown away with the amount of people that we had on the show who'd messaged us, that had just had their dog shot by the police, and they couldn't believe that this was something, do you know, it's always the same thing, isn't it? And you'll hear what I say about this, Jeffrey. Nobody shares the stuff until it's happened to them or they've seen something close to home. And all of a sudden, everybody wants you to share that page because it does affect. But nobody can take on board the amount of effect it has. It's not just about the fact you've lost your dog. It affects your whole family, the community. There's no, we have the repercussions against the police. It's a lot of things that go around it. It's not just about the fact that the dog's being shot by the police, is it? Sure. There's a lot of repercussions around it. And just think we have 2 people in the States now in the past 3 years who've been killed by errant gunfire aimed at dogs. None of those cops are disciplined. They're still on the job. We have so many woundings of bystanders during these shootings. I've lost count. And cops are shooting each other. And they just keep going on, and they don't admit they were wrong. So they're shooting people. They're shooting kids. They're shooting each other, and there's no end in sight. That's how bad it is over here. So how did you get involved with the page? Did something happen to you in particular, or did something just, like me, just hit the nerve? Sure, I was just like everyone else. I mean, I have a dog, and I love animals, but I started, hearing about a few of these cases on Facebook and local ones in the news. And at first, I was just like everyone else. I was a cop apologist. These heroes could never do anything wrong, and I thought there must be more to the story. The cop would never do that. And then after these stories came up, I just had the realization of, oh my gosh, they are doing this. They shouldn't have shot the dog, and they're lying and they're getting away with it. And so once I had that realization, and then things happened locally, I just got involved, and then it just escalated to the point where I spend at least 4 hours a day on these reports and communicating with people and newspapers, sometimes lawyers. It's a full-time job. Fortunately, I'm retired and I have the time.
Great. Joe, and this is the thing, once you start with things like that, it's mind-blowing of what else you find out to go with it, because I know how much Kristin and yourself work together a lot, and I know how much time Kristin was putting in. Like she was saying, 18 hours a day, every single day, just to get, and that was just information from Texas police to find out what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and how many dogs are shot
really
there. Do you know what I mean?
Texas, Florida, a lot of the southern states, these are really bad. California, it just goes on and on and on. And a lot of these states, there is no legal help. I mean, the police come and shoot your dog. They say they were justified. They don't help you. And you're on your own to just deal with the aftermath of this egregious act of police misconduct. Fortunately, there's some states, you just had Allison on. She does a very good job in Louisiana down there in the heart of the South. That's a oasis. But these other states, there's nothing you can do. You just have to suck it up and live with it.
Yeah. Do you think that the training is actually making a difference in the places, that we've actually set it up?
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes people have called me out for being hypocritical on this. We need the police training and dog encounters so badly everywhere, because it will influence some police officers and will make a difference. If it just makes a difference of 50 cases in a year, that's huge. That's 50 families that don't have to deal with it. That's maybe 50 cops that don't have to be bit by dogs because they're handling it wrong. But there's no accountability to the training. So, yes, the training is absolutely important, Fred, nationwide, but if a police officer is scared of a dog and shoots and kills the dog and hits your 4-year-old girl in the leg, he's clear because he felt he was in danger. That's enough to clear him. He doesn't care that he put your 4-year-old daughter in danger or that he killed your daughter right in front of her children. That doesn't matter. The cop said he felt he was in fear for his life. That settles it. So in that respect, we have a big problem.
Exactly.
And it's shocking, isn't it? It's shocking to hear this, but it's true. I don't know if it's that way over in the UK. You just had that incident with the dog tied to the pole that the police shot. We get stuff worse than that every day.
But do you know what? In the UK, we haven't actually got the guns. Now, that's a whole different show. We don't have the guns on the street so much. The police don't walk around with guns. They do maybe in like London. I've been in London and we've actually seen where the police are carrying guns, but it's not on every single police officer in the whole of the UK. It's very few and far between when we have a dog. We actually had one that was running in a park and they were concerned, and we had one and that was shot. But it's very few and far between for us. Do you know what I mean? So when I had videos sent to me from America, and people are saying to me, just look at this, and I will tell you now, I sat there in floods of tears when I could see like a dog was in a garage and it walked out, and as it came out the garage, they just shot it. It's like, why didn't you shut the garage door? It was just as simple as that.
I have to apologize to all the police officers who do such a great job with animals, and they're out there. And I get those aren't reported as much, but there's a lot of skillful action out there where police, even with aggressive dogs, are able to stop whatever was going on without the use of lethal force. So that way, they're not endangering the public. The city where I live doesn't readily shoot dogs because it's a danger to the public. But overall, nationwide and in certain states, they just shoot. And if they didn't have a gun, of course they wouldn't. Of course, United States, with the culture we have over here and the criminals, I can't imagine any cop in America walking around without a gun. I mean, that's never going to happen. I mean, there's great evil in the world, and we have that over here. But that doesn't mean that when a dog is running towards you or you call to a aggressive dog or loose dog call, that the firearm is number one weapon on your belt, because when you fire that weapon, that bullet's gone all over the place. You have no idea where it's going to land.
Yeah.
They can use other things like pepper spray, batons. They have all kinds of other things, but they just shoot. And maybe it will take, I used to think it will take a death for them to stop, but that's had no effect.
No. And do you know what? The other thing, we talk about, every time we've done this dog shot by police, we've always mentioned the words common sense. Why the hell don't police just have a few dog biscuits or something in their pocket? If they know that they're going to a house, some do, and some are very good. Some do, some are very good, but I've been told by ranking veteran police officers who don't support some of these dog shootings by police. They've seen the video. They don't say anything publicly because, the department will take action, but they've told me. They said it doesn't matter about the training or whatever. If a cop's scared of dogs and says he felt threatened, it's over. So if your little dog comes up and the cop says he felt threatened, it's all over. And that's how it is in the United States. Exactly. But the thing is, it's the fact that you're saying to me, this is still ongoing. But okay, let's go off subject.
Getting worse.
So
it's more than ongoing. It's escalating.
So if they're doing this to the dogs, what are the police actually like with the humans? We're saying they're doing it, so is it the same attitude?
Well, I hate to put I really am uncomfortable talking about police in such broad terms, really like I'm doing now. Yes, there are numerous shootings of people that didn't need to happen. I mean, that's a completely different subject. Yes, there is of police shooting at people, hitting the wrong person. They didn't need to shoot. Of course, there is that, and it's the same thing. If a cop feels threatened, you're on dangerous ground. So if you're in a traffic stop or something and you're getting into it with the police and they feel threatened, you're on very dangerous ground. It's always best just to, listen and allow the cops to do what they're going to do. Otherwise you could get shot.
Exactly. So tell us, what's your Facebook page then, Jeffrey, as well?
It's very simple. Dogs shot by police.
Okay, because I know there's a few different pages, isn't there?
There's all kinds of different pages. Dog shot by police. We have, we're getting close to 17,000 subscribers. We have a big reach, and I feel that we do have a high standard for the stories. We don't print rumors or Facebook rumors or someone posted something and said this happened. We look into it. I call police departments all the time, every week. I've called hundreds of police departments trying to track down the facts to these cases. I don't call as much anymore because all the answers have become the same. They're justified because the officer felt he was threatened. So, I could call up these police and argue with them, but it doesn't do any good. But we look into the case and don't just post rumors.
Exactly. How? I was just going to come to you about that. What are the police like with you? There's obviously we've seen loads. We have literally seen loads and loads of good police officers that have rescued dogs, who took them in the car, took them home, and everything.
Yes.
And we can't, like you say, we can't say that all of them are the same. But on the other side,
right.
What are the actual main offices like when you ring up and you say you want to find out such and such? What is it like for you to ring?
Well, some of them, some are very good. They talk about it, but others are very guarded. They, they're not stupid. I call them. They look up Dog Shot by Police Facebook page. They see that it's nearly all negative, and they just go, okay, they're just guarded. They're not going to tell this guy anything because it's going to portray them negatively. But really, why I call is just to nail down the facts. If a story isn't clear, I want to know, sometimes I'll find out it was there was some gang fight and, their gangs were shooting at people and kids were there and the dogs were set out to fight other people. There's extenuating circumstances. It wasn't just a cop walking into someone's yard and shooting someone's dog. I want to find out about that. And I do as much as I can.
Do you know what? I've only spoken to you for... Yeah.
There's some
I've only
cases where...
spoken to you for a... Sorry. Carry on.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I've only spoken to you just a short time, and I really do want to ask you to come back on the show another time because I can't believe it, but we've got like 10 minutes to the end of the show again, and time just goes so fast. I always say we've got 2 hours for the show, but it never seems enough. But I would love to invite you back on again.
It's a bad situation. You can call me anytime. I mean, I'm drowning in these stories every day, trying to help certain people, direct them to lawyers or tell them, some things they can do. But I would say out of every 100 shootings, there's maybe just a handful of people that can utilize those services.
Excellent. Well, if anybody wants to speak to Jeffrey, please join up with the Facebook page. I know that Jeffrey, I've looked to the page and it's absolutely amazing. You're doing an absolute fantastic job on there. And I'd love to invite you back on again. And I think the other thing we could really do with is we could do with getting a police officer that's, maybe been in the situation when he has actually had a dog with him and he's had to literally use that training or whatever. We could do with that. But also we could do with where, we've had the people that have had their dog shot by police or been in that situation. Maybe the police didn't shoot the dog but were thinking about it or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, it probably will be very hard to get a police officer on the radio to speak about it because they're very guarded. But I'm sure a police official, one of their public information officers, may come on and tell you about the training they do. And let's not forget that there's numerous departments out there that do a great job with animals. I mean, I've read some reports where I can't imagine how they didn't resort to gunfire, but they didn't. So even though I'm really negative, I don't want to paint all cops with the same brush.
Absolutely. Well, Jeffrey, listen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Sure.
Have you actually got a direct email address for anybody that wants to contact you?
Well, they can message us at Dogs Shot by Police, the Facebook page.
Right. Excellent.
They can message us.
Excellent.
I answer, all the messages that I can if I'm able to. That's where people can find us.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Jeffrey, and I will definitely speak to you again very, very soon.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye. I would just like to say an absolute amazing thank you to everybody that has literally been here on the show tonight. It's been absolutely amazing and really quite weird. I just sat here, was talking to Jeffrey then, and somebody came into my mind that I have yet to mention. And we had an absolute amazing advocate who came onto the Ask Sue show quite a few times, and I know impacted on a lot of our lives. Not just on the fact that he came on the show and not just because of the fact that he got his group, but he did have Canine. Oh, it's gone straight out of my mind. Canine. I'll find that out in a minute because it's because he's on my mind. And unfortunately, we actually lost Eddie Cintron. We straight away set up a page and we actually got his dog, Lattimore, rehomed with the lovely Kelly. And I can honestly say I'd never met Eddie. I'd spoken to him on the phone. I rung him and had natters with him and literally had him on the show quite a few times. And all I can say, he is very, very much missed. I want to say a big hello to Jerry, his brother, who I know has been an absolute amazing guy. He's messaged me. I've messaged him making sure that he was okay. And also it's because he had actually lost his brother and I had actually lost mine literally not last November but the November before, and we sort of like hit the same thing. We're helping each other. So a big hello to Jerry and his family, and obviously Eddie won't be forgotten. He was an amazing guy that did so much for so many people. Do you know what I mean? So I want to say thank you very much to everybody that supported us on the Lattimore page. It was absolutely amazing what we did, and we did manage to get him rehomed with Kelly. And I will get Kelly onto the show and have a chat with us about Lattimore and how he's settling in. So a big, massive thank you to them as well. It just very hard to really take on board that he's not here anymore. Anyway, let's go on to change this subject and go on to the fact of the shows that we've got coming up. So the 16th, which is Friday, 9 p.m. UK time, we have got Patrick's birthday. Now, obviously, Patrick was the miracle dog that obviously was put down a garbage chute, and I think the easiest way to say it is that he was a bag of bones. He literally was saved, and I think he's 7-year-old this time, and we're going to have a little show for him and bring people on that have been on before and, you know, advocates that have literally joined up with us because of Patrick. So if you want to join us, that's the 16th, that's Friday. Then the 21st, we've got Lisa Beretta and Mike Totti, where we'll be having psychic readings. We'll be talking about where the planets are and all sorts about birth charts, and they're just mind-blowing, the pair of them. So that will be an amazing show. And then on the 28th, we've got Lisa coming on and talking about her book, Conscious Ink, which is regarding to the tattoos. And also, I'm going to be asking Lisa to design a tattoo to go around my original one that I've got at the moment. So I'll take a picture of that and show you, and then we'll see what Lisa comes up with, what she thinks I should have. And maybe we could do a Facebook Live video of me having a tattoo done or something. That would be quite cool. Or not. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So if anybody has got actually any other shows that you would like me to bring forward, maybe you've got, maybe a company or something has gone against you and you want me to have a word with them and see what's going on. Or maybe at the moment I've had some people that have been in touch with me, to talk about the homeless. Maybe would I talk about the psychics? Would I talk about advocates, suicide, depression, bullying? All of these are topics that are going to be coming up on the Ask Sue show very soon. I will be doing another show about Angel, who got killed in the UK by a police officer, an RSPCA officer. And if anybody knows any information about that dog or that situation, or the RSPCA officer that was there, or the police officer, then please give me an email, asksueshow@gmail.com. I want to say a big hello to Sean, who's listening to the show. He's been absolutely brilliant. He's been putting all the links into the chat room in the background. Thank you very much, Sean. I hope you're both okay. And I can't believe how fast time has gone. Just also go have a look on www.asksue.co.uk. Most of the links in there are going to the pages and obviously to the pages that we run. Also, you can find me Ask Sue Official. That is my actual Facebook profile, so if anybody wants to join me there. You can also go and find, you've got Jim Crosby, who we've had on the show, Kristin Hoffmann. We've had Justice for Angel, Page. We've had Jeffrey Justice with Dog Shot by Police. We have also had Alison, the Louisiana attorney, and you can give her a message. We'll put the links in the Ask Sue Show group. So if there's anybody that would like to get in touch, by all means, give us an email, asksueshow@gmail.com. That's asksueshow@gmail.com. So just let you know that we will be putting all of our shows on YouTube, so you can have a look on to YouTube, and we will be putting the links of this straight into the Ask Sue Show group, and Ask Sue, one word, radio show, the other, on our page. Also onto the website, which is www.asksue.co.uk. Also, anybody who wants to join us next time in the show, if you want to join the chat room, please go on to the Blog Talk Radio and log in and follow us on the shows. Then you'll get notifications of upcoming shows. Well, with no further ado, we're coming to the end of the show. I want to thank everybody who's actually joined. Thank you, everybody who shared the groups and the pages for me. And we will be back very, very soon. So we would wish you all a good night and be good. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, and the class of 2012, always beware of the government smokescreen. If I could offer you only one tip for the future, watch out for the smokescreen would be it. The deceptiveness and long-term dangers of a smokescreen have been proven by investigators, whereas the rest of my advice does have basis and is backed up by my own independent research. I will dispense this advice now. Enjoy the right of freedom and liberty. Oh, never mind. You'll never understand the right of freedom and liberty until it's threatened or taken away from you. But trust me, 20 years from now, you may look back and recall, in a way that you cannot yet grasp, about the threat that was before you and how freedom really felt. You are not as weak as you think. Don't be cavalier with your future. Know that apathy and ignorance are as helpful to you as trying to solve a Rubik's Cube with a sledgehammer. The real troubles in your life are apt to be things that never once crossed your gullible mind, the kind that blindside you in a false flag disaster. Do one thing every day that enlightens others. Talk. Don't keep the truth to yourself. Never infringe on another man's rights. And don't put up with people who try to infringe upon yours. Read. Don't waste your time on the network TV news. Sometimes you're fooled. Sometimes you see through the lie. Always ask questions, because in the end, the facts must answer to you. Remember the pain you've endured, but forgive those who've caused it. If you can do that, you're a better person than most. Keep your privacy. Remember that Facebook is nothing more than a CIA-affiliated data mining operation. Fight. Don't feel guilty for not knowing the truth, but be damned if you don't seek it, nor spread it to others. Whatever you do, don't pat yourself on the back too much, or belittle yourself either. Your perception has been deviously manipulated, but so has everyone else's. Take care of yourself. Your health is a gift that you'll never realize until it's taken away from you. Be aware of Big Pharma and GMO food. Protect your body, because it's the greatest vehicle you'll ever know. Laugh out loud, even if it's by yourself. Research the past so that you can understand the present. Our forefathers crafted the greatest country the world has ever known. A republic, if you can keep it, is what Benjamin Franklin